Ever wondered why every other developer seems to be learning Node.js these days? That's because Node.js has completely transformed how web applications are built, fast, scalable, and efficient like never before. It's the powerhouse behind the platforms like Netflix, PayPal, Uber, and LinkedIn, helping them to handle millions of requests in real time. With companies across the globe adopting Node.js for backend development, it's no surprise that it's one of the most in-demand skills in the tech today. In India, Node.js developers can earn anywhere between 6 to 18 lakhs per annum depending on experience, while in the US, salaries can range from $90,000 to $140,000 per year. Whether it's a startup looking for speed or a tech giant building complex systems, Node.js is the go-to solution for building high-performance applications that connect the world. Now, if you are someone preparing for Node.js interview questions but unsure what kind of questions you might face, this video is just for you. We have compiled top 30 Node.js interview questions and answers that cover everything from the basics to the advanced concepts, perfect for both beginners and experienced professionals. From understanding event loops and callbacks to mastering streams, clusters, and middleware, this video will make sure you walk into your interview with confidence. So grab your notepad and stay till the end and get ready to sharpen your skills, whether it's your first interview or your fifth. This guide could be the edge you need to land in your next big opportunity. With that said, let's have a small quiz. So here goes the question. Which command is used to initialize a Node.js project? And your options are npm start, npm init, node install, and the last one, node start. Let me know your answers in the comment section below. Before we commence, if you are really interested to kickstart your coding career with Simplilearn's full stack Java Developers Masters program, created in collaboration with Microsoft Azure, this 7-month comprehensive program will help you master everything from front-end frameworks like React and Angular to back-end technologies such as Java, Spring Boot, and Hibernate, along with DevOps, databases, and cloud deployment. Through 20-plus hands-on projects and real-world capstone projects, you will gain practical experience building applications across industries like travel, healthcare, and e-commerce. With Job Assist, expert-led sessions, and a flexible learning format, you'll be fully equipped to land your high-paying job roles as a full-stack developer. Learn, build, and grow. Your Java journey starts here. Hurry and enroll now. And to find the course link, you can check the description box and the pinned comments. Alright then, let's begin with the basics. So these are the kind of questions that interviewers usually start with. These will test how well you understand Node.js from the ground up. So let's get started one by one. First question, what is Node.js? Node.js is a tool that lets you run JavaScript outside the browser. Normally, JavaScript only works in the browsers like Chrome or Firefox, but Node.js allows you to use JavaScript on server-side too to build API servers and backend systems. It's built on Google's V8 engine, which makes it easy and fast and efficient. In short, Node.js equals to JavaScript outside the browser. Built on Chrome's V8 engine helps you build fast and scalable backend applications. Now, let's go to the second question. What is the difference between Node.js and JavaScript? So let's look at the key differences between JavaScript and Node.js. First, the environment. JavaScript runs inside the browsers like Chrome or Firefox. Node.js, on the other hand, runs outside the browser on the server side. Next, the purpose. JavaScript is mainly used for client-side scripting and front-end development, while Node.js is used for server-side scripting and back-end development. Now, access to the system resources. JavaScript running in the browser cannot directly access the files, the operating system, or databases, but Node.js can. It has full access to the file system, databases, and OS-level operations as well. The fourth difference, built-in modules. JavaScript in the browser comes with browser-specific objects, such as a window or document. Node.js, however, includes powerful built-in modules like FS, HTTP, and Path. And finally, the execution engine. JavaScript executes inside browsers using engines like Chrome's V8 or Firefox's SpiderMonkey. Node.js is also built on top of Chrome's V8 engine, but it extends it with APIs made specifically for the backend use. Now, let's have the third question. How does Node.js work internally? Inside Node.js, there are two main things at work, the V8 engine and libuv library. The V8 engine executes JavaScript code quickly, and libuv handles background tasks like reading files, making API calls, or handling requests, all in all, an asynchronous way. In simple words, Node.js puts tasks into a queue, keeping working on others and completing the tasks when they're ready without getting stuck. Now, the fourth question, why is Node.js single-threaded? Node.js uses a single main thread meaning it handles all requests in one flow instead of creating a new thread for every user. It makes it lightweight and super efficient, perfect for apps with a lot of users, like chat or streaming platforms. Now, the reason behind. Uses one main thread, handles many users using asynchronous processing, saves memory, and increases speed. Now we have our fifth question. Why is Node.js popular today? The answer, Node.js is popular because it makes development faster and simpler. You can use same language, JavaScript, for both frontend and backend. It is also very fast and easy to scale and has thousands of pre-built libraries on NPM. That's why companies like Netflix, Uber, PayPal, and LinkedIn use it. Discussing on why it's famous in details, we can include one language is enough for everything, fast, super fast, and lightweight, big community and NPM support, great for real-time applications. Now we have a sixth question. How to write a simple Hello World program in a server using Node.js. This is the simplest example you'll ever write in Node.js. Let's create a small web server that says Hello World. You can see an example of the code segment right on my screen. Feel free to pause the video and take a note of it. Now, let's understand it. The HTTP module is a built-in feature in Node.js that helps you create web servers. You don't need to install it separately. It's available by default. The createServer method is used to make a simple server that listens for users' requests and sends responses. In this example, it sends the message hello world when someone visits the server. The rest.end method sends the response to the browser and tells Node.js that the response is complete. Finally, server.listen 3000 starts the server on the port 3000. When you open the local host in your browser, you see the hello world is being displayed. Now, the seventh question. What is synchronous versus asynchronous programming? The answer, synchronous means doing one task at a time. The next task starts only after the previous one is finished. Asynchronous means doing multiple things at once. You don't wait for one task to finish before starting the next one. Example, synchronous means reading one file and then the next. And asynchronous, reading all the files together without waiting. That's why Node.js is so fast. It uses asynchronous programming. Now we have our eighth question. How does Node.js achieve asynchronous programming? The answer, Node.js handles async programming by using callbacks, promises, and async or await. When you tell Node.js to read a file or make a database call, it doesn't wait. It sends the task to the background and moves on. When the work is done, it comes back and gives you the result. In short, Node.js uses background workers to handle tasks like keeping the main thread free to serve other users. Now we have the ninth question. What is the event loop and how does it manage requests? The answer, event loop is like Node.js's brain. It decides what task to do next. It keeps checking a list called event queue for tasks. It executes the ones that are ready and moves on to the next, all without stopping. It's like a waiter who takes multiple orders, passes them to the kitchen, and serves dishes that are ready without waiting for one order to finish. Now we have our 10th question. What is callback hell and how can you avoid it? The answer, callback hell happens when you write too many nested callback functions in your code. It looks messy and hard to understand. You can see a small example right on my screen. Feel free to pause it and take a note of it. So now let's discuss on how to avoid it. Use promises. You can also use async await break your code into smaller, simpler functions in short. Callback hell happens when too many async functions depend on each other. Promises and async await make your code clean and readable. Awesome, you got the fundamentals down. Let's move on to the intermediate level where interviewers start checking how well you know Node.js concepts, APIs, and how everything connects together. Now, the 11th question. What are promises in Node.js? Promises are a better way to handle asynchronous operations in Node.js instead of using callbacks that can get messy. Promises make the code cleaner and easier to read. In simple terms, a promise represents a value that might not be available yet, but will be resolved in future, either fulfilled or rejected. Example. So let's discuss an example. You can see a code snippet on my screen. You can pause and take a quick note of it. So let's discuss how it runs. So basically, a promise promises to give you the result later without blocking the main thread. Now, let's discuss the 12th question. How does async or await improve asynchronous code? The answer, async and await are introduced to make asynchronous code look better and behave like normal synchronous code. Instead of chaining .then function and .catch function, you can just use await to pause execution until a promise is resolved. You must be thinking why it's better. Let's check. Easier to read and debug, avoids callback hell, handles async code in a more natural flow. So if you want clean, readable async code, async await is the way to go. Now, the 13th question. What is package.json and why is it important? Think of the package.json as the brain of your Node.js project. It stores important information about your app like name, version, dependencies, and scripts. In simple words, it keeps track of all the npm packages that your project is using. It allows you to run custom scripts like npm start, etc. It helps others to install the same dependencies using just one command, which is npm install. So whenever you see a Node.js project, package.json tells you exactly how the project is built and what it depends on. Now we have our 14th question. Name 5 built-in modules of Node.js. Node.js comes with many built-in modules that make development easier. No need to install them. Common ones include HTTP for creating web service, for working with the file system, path for handling file and directory paths, OS for system info like memory and CPU events, and event-driven programming. These are built-in, meaning you can use them right away without downloading anything. Now we have our 15th question. What is middleware in Node.js? The answer is, if you worked on Express.js, you have definitely used middleware, even if you didn't realize it. Middleware are functions that sit between the request and response cycle. They can check, modify, or even stop a request before it reaches the final route handler. Now let's discuss the uses of middleware in Node.js logging. It records detailing of incoming requests for monitoring and debugging. Authentication verifies user identity before allowing access to the protected routes. Error handling catches and manages errors to prevent server crashes. In short, middleware is like security guard checking requests before letting them enter your app. Now we have a 16th question. What is module.exports and how is it used? The answer. In Node.js, each file is treated as a separate module. If you want to see functions or variables from one file in another, you use module.exports to share them. Example. So let's see a small example right on my screen. You can pause and take a note of it. So in short, module.exports share code, require method imports it. It's how Node.js enables modular and reusable codes. Now we have 17th question. What is the difference between Express.js and Node.js? So let's break down the main differences between Node.js and Express.js. First, the type. Node.js is a runtime environment that allows JavaScript to run on the server side. And Express.js, on the other hand, is a web framework built on top of Node.js. Next one, the purpose. Node.js provides the core modules you need for server-side programming, things like HTTP, file system, and path. Express.js builds on that foundation, making it easier to create servers using routing, middleware, and APIs. Third, complexity. With Node.js alone, you need to handle routing and requests manually, which can take more setup and code. Express.js simplifies all that by offering built-in features that make development faster, cleaner, and more efficient. And finally, usage. Node.js is great for building low-level server logic or custom backend setups from scratch. Express.js is ideal for quickly building structured web applications and RESTful APIs with minimal effort. Now, let's move into the 18th question. What is event-driven programming in Node.js? In Node.js, everything revolves around events. Instead of waiting for one task to finish, Node.js listens for events like a file being read or user sending a request and reacts to them. Example, you can see an example right on my screen. You can take a note of it. So, in simple words, Node.js runs on events. You register a listener. When an event happens, Node.js executes the callback. Now we have the 19th question. What role does the events module play? The answer. The events module is what makes Node.js event-driven. It provides the event emitter class, which allows you to create, emit, and listen for the custom events. So let's take a look at the example right on my screen here. So the events module basically connects triggers and emitters to actions, which are listeners, making your app more dynamic and responsive. Now comes the 20th question. What is the buffer class and why is it used? A buffer class in Node.js is a temporary storage area for binary data. Data which is not in text format, like images, videos, or files being transferred. For example, when Node.js reads a file, it doesn't read it all at once. It stores chunks in a buffer and processes them piece by piece. So example code is right on my screen. So in short, buffer handles binary data efficiently used in streams, file handling, and network operations. So whenever Node.js deals with raw data, buffers are doing the heavy lifting behind the scenes. And that wraps the intermediate section. Next, we'll dive into advanced level section and we'll also talk about architecture, performance, clustering, and security. All the things that help you stand out in a senior level interview. These are the questions interviewers ask to test your real-world understanding of Node.js architecture, performance, clustering, and scalability. So here comes our 21st question. Compare setImmediate function versus setTimeout function. So the answer, both setImmediate and setTimeout are used to schedule code to run later. But there's a small difference. SetImmediate function runs the callback right after the current event loop phase is done. SetTimeout method, on the other hand, runs the callback after a given time delay. Even if the delay is 0, it waits for the timer phase to complete. In short, setImmediate executes faster after input-output events, and setTimeout executes after timer delay. So we are at the 22nd question. Explain Node.js web application architecture. Node.js architecture is built around the event-driven and non-blocking input-output model. That means instead of creating new threads for every request, Node.js uses an event loop to handle all requests using single main thread. That means instead of creating new threads for every request, Node.js uses an event loop to handle all requests using a single main thread. In simple flow, user sends a request is added to the event queue. The event loop picks it up and checks if it's blocking or non-blocking. Non-blocking tasks are handled immediately. Blocking tasks go to the worker threads via libuv. Once completed, results are sent back to the client. Let's now see why it's powerful. It handles thousands of requests efficiently, uses less memory than traditional multi-threaded servers, perfect for real-time applications like chat and streaming. Now we have a 23rd question. What are the types of streams in Node.js? Streams are used to handle data that doesn't come all at once, like video playback or file uploads. Instead of waiting for the whole file to load, Node.js works on it in a chunk-by-chunk fashion. 4 types of streams: readable for reading data, writable for writing the data, duplex for both reading and writing, transform for modifying data as it is read or written. So streams make Node.js super efficient for big data because it doesn't just load everything into memory at once. Now we have 24th question. What is the purpose of createServer method? The answer, the createServer method is a part of HTTP module. It is used to create a web server in Node.js. It listens for incoming HTTP requests and sends back responses, just like how a browser communicates with a server. In short, it is used to build simple web servers, handles requests, and sends responses. You can customize routes, headers, and content type. Now we have the 25th question. Name commonly used libraries in Node.js projects. There are thousands of NPM packages, but here are some popular and widely used libraries you should know. Most common libraries are Express.js for building web servers and API, Mongoose for MongoDB object modeling, JSON web token for authentication using JWTs, Bicrypt for password hashing, NodeMailer for sending emails, Cors for handling cross-origin requests. These libraries save developers hours of work and are used in almost every production of Node.js project. So now we are on 26th question. What is clustering in Node.js and how does it improve performance? So the answer is, clustering helps Node.js take full advantage of multi-core CPUs. Since Node.js runs on a single thread, it can't use multiple cores by default. But clustering allows you to create multiple instances or workers for your application, each running on a separate core. Benefits: uses all CPU cores, handle more requests at the same time, improve scalability and reliability. So clustering basically multiplies your Node.js performance by using every single CPU core. Now we have 27th question. How do you handle heavy CPU bound tasks without blocking the event loop? The answer, Node.js is great for input-output operations, but not for CPU-heavy tasks. So if you want to run heavy calculations directly, it can block the event loop and freeze the app. To fix this, you can move those tasks away from the main thread. And some of the ways to handle it are: use worker threads, use child processes to run these tasks separately, and you can also try to offload the task to external services. So if your app does things like image processing or data crunching, always use worker threads to keep the main thread free. Now, 28th question. How do you secure Node.js applications from common vulnerabilities? The answer, security is always a huge topic in Node.js interviews. Here are some of the best practices that you should always follow. Key security measures: validate user input, prevent SQL or command injections, use helmet.js, set secure HTTP headers, avoid using eval functions. It can execute malicious code sometimes. And you can also sanitize data, clean all users' input before processing, use HTTPS for encrypted communications, store passwords securely, use bicrypt hashing, keep dependencies updated to patch known vulnerabilities. So always mention these best practices and it shows you understand real-world production security. Now we are on the 29th question. How do you optimize the performance of Node.js applications for production? The answer: to make your Node.js application faster and more efficient in production, focus on these optimization techniques. Performance tips: use gzip or compression to reduce response sizes. Enable caching, use load balancing for distributing traffic. Minimize blocking code. Prefer async methods. Monitor memory leaks and slow queries. Use PM2 for process management and clustering. So basically, performance optimization is all about reducing load, speeding up response time, and using resources efficiently. Now, the last question for this session: how can you ensure scalability and maintainability in Node.js APIs? The answer: scalability means your app can handle more users without crashing. Maintainability means your code stays clean and easy to manage as it grows. So some of the best practices are: follow modular architecture, split your code into smaller modules, use MVC pattern, which is model view controller pattern, implement caching and clustering for performance, use Docker and Kubernetes for containerization, maintain code consistency with tools like ESLint and Prettier. Now, a bonus tip: use proper logging and monitoring tools like Venson or PM2. They help you detect issues before they become big problems. And that's it. You now have a solid grasp of the most common Node.js interview questions, from event loops and async programming to clustering, performance, and security. Keep practicing, build small projects, and get hands-on with Express and APIs to strengthen your confidence. If this video helped you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tech interview tips and guides. Thank you for watching and keep learning with Simplilearn.